Alderperson Evans. Hurt. Barnes. Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
Healy. And Mayor Harris.
Here.
So this evening, we're going to skip it around slightly. We're going to do public comment after the presentations. So if Christian Care would like to come up here for the presentation start, that would have to be fine. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I do have a handout I would like to present to all of you. So, Mr. Mayor, City Alderman, thank you for allowing me to come before you and speak about Christian Care. And anybody have an idea what button I hit on? Oh, look at that. So, Christian Care. We have been in the city of Rock Island for 106 years. We were founded by Guy Rogers, a professional boxer who changed course and decided that he wanted to help individuals. And his statement that we still live by is it is our job to rebuild the character and confidence of defeated men and women. Christian Care, again, was founded in 1916. Okay, what button is it? None of them. What's that? On the side. Miles, can you help me? Now I've hit every button enough. Okay, it's not me.
Oh, you got the, okay.
Perfect.
Just click then.
Okay. So is there a way for me to go back on this one?
Yeah, just roll.
Okay. So we have 2 emergency shelters here in Rock Island. The Rock Island Rescue Mission, which most people know and understand, that's located at 2209 3rd Avenue. And then during the pandemic, we opened up Martha's House. This home is located on 9th Avenue and 20th Street. It is able to house 20 single women or women with children. Both of the facilities that we have are the only 2 facilities here on this side of the river to assist the homeless. So with the rescue mission, we're able to house 42 men. We have 6 beds that are dedicated to veterans transition, 3 beds for the Rock Island court systems, and we serve approximately between, as it says, 200 and 250 annually at the rescue mission. At Martha's House, we opened Martha's House in the middle of the pandemic when QC Haven of Hope closed, and we did some research, and the only category of individuals that weren't being helped at the time were single women or women with children. So we opened up Martha's House, and we can house 20 women there. We have 6 bedrooms, and we serve approximately 100 people a year with that. Part of what we do for the, okay, we're going to go in here to case management. So I just want to explain that at Christian Care, what we take a holistic approach to helping individuals, and part of that is what we consider intensive case management versus just case management. And basically all that really just means is that we take the approach for each individual is different, and we want to make sure that the IOP that they have it and the services that we're offering are directed towards that particular individual. So that's the reason for the intensive case management versus just a regular case management type of thing. We have many basic needs. So when a person comes in, any services that they need, and it's starting with just the very basics of, let's say, SNAP, Medicaid, driver's license, Social Security cards, we just start at that level and work up. And the idea is remove as many barriers as we can. Then we do tons and tons of collaboration for permanent housing for those individuals, and we work a lot with, I just forgot, yeah, thank you. I was like, who are you? Yeah, with Project Now, a lot, and then with humility as well. We don't own any homes, so it's very important that we work with those individuals to make sure that we can move on. Okay, that went backwards. So, at our rescue mission, we have a community meal site as well. This year, we are projected to serve 45,000 meals. We serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner 365 days a year. That has increased by 3,000 over last year and 5,000 over the year before. So as you know, with the prices that are increasing and everything else that's going on, we really are that supplement for the people here in Rock Island. We put in 7 garden beds, and we did that specifically so that we could allow more fresh fruit or fresh vegetables into the kitchen, and then anything that we don't use, we share with the community. And then over here on this side, it's a Bring and Serve program. It's one of the ways that the community helps us. And these groups that come in, whether it's men's groups, women's groups, church groups, youth groups, there's city council, city members that come in. They serve 300 of those meals. A lot of them bring the meal and serve it. But again, that's starting to get a little bit expensive, so they're just now doing more of the serving. But that takes care of 300 of those meals, which is really an awesome thing. Well, I'll figure this out before the end of it. Street outreach. So again, in the middle of the pandemic, when everybody was closing up and closing their doors, we were trying to figure what is it that we can do. One thing that wasn't happening, or at least it wasn't a recognized event that was happening, was street outreach. So again, in partnership with Project Now, we went before the COC. They sanctioned our street outreach. We're not able to cover 15 counties. We can't even pretend that we can. But we focus very heavily in the Rock Island area. Actually, the whole Rock Island County. We'll start in Rock Island on Monday morning, and then in the afternoon, we'll go to East Moline, then we'll go, or to Moline, then East Moline, and we'll just work our way out. We'll hit the hamlets and villages around the area as well. One of the biggest things that they can do is get everybody that's out there that doesn't want to come in for services connected with coordinated entry. And then one of the big things that we do is we have 2 SOAR certified staff members. I am one, and then there's a street outreach individual as one. So the whole idea with the street outreach program is do exactly everything that we do in the building, just outside. So they're equipped with their tablets, hotspots, everything. So if they find an individual out there in the woods sleeping in a tent and they don't have SNAP benefits and they're eligible for them, they can fill out all the paperwork and have it completed right there on the spot. And they can use our address to get that information, and then we'll get it back out to them. And again, the COC serves 15 counties. We're really just focused on 1 or 2. Nothing. Okay, some of the essential services that we do. Chapel service. We have chapel every single night. It is not a mandatory program, but we offer it in case of anybody needs some spiritual help. We bring in 17 different pastors and lay people throughout the month to support that. We are a warming and cooling center. We have a parish nurse that comes in once a week on Wednesdays, not for just our residents, but anybody that visits the meal site. One of the things that she's able to do is help with the wellness factor, which when she's able to assist somebody getting medication, and she's really into foot care for individuals, and homeless individuals really do need that. We look down the road at that, and we look at how much savings to a community that can happen when that individual doesn't go to the emergency room. So there's not a $6,000 bill all of a sudden that's slapped in somebody's face here because they don't pay for it there. So these kind of things that when we work with our community collaborators, those are the things that we're looking at. Prairie State Legal, they come in pro bono, again, not just for the people living in our shelter, but for anybody in the community that comes to the meal site. We do have public showers, I should say shower, but during the winter, when the winter shelter was open, we opened up the 5 extra ones that we had just for our men so that we could get more people through. So during that winter shelter part of the program, They would come, eat breakfast with us, have a shower, stay in the warming center if they needed to, have lunch, stay in the warming center, and then head to the winter shelter in the evening. And then we have a public resource lab and library. And basically what we did with that is just put a couple of laptops in and the library books and stuff that they can have so that the individuals can work on their resumes. Maybe they need to read their emails, anything like that. We don't allow them to just sit in there and be on Facebook, but productive type things. We've actually had 3 people that are in classes right now online, so that's a good thing that we have going on right there as well. And these are just some statistics that we have for 2024 from the Rescue Mission. You can read them, but we've already surpassed the crisis logs. So crisis logs are when an individual just calls in and says, I need help. And we put them on the list to get them into the shelter. I will tell you that our waiting list is going down. For the last 8 months, the average wait time, our number of people on the list was around 90 people for the men's shelter and 30 plus for the women's. So we're doing our best to serve. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Oh, no, I do. I have a couple.
Oh,
Yeah.
I tried to get away.
Oh, no, you're good. So, like for your showers, those are open to anybody, correct?
Absolutely anybody, yes.
Okay, and then your meals, those are open to anyone?
Anybody. Anybody that's just walking down the street and wonders why all of a sudden there's a crowd of people there and realize it's a meal. If they're hungry, they're more than welcome to come in. It is free. There is no cost.
Okay. And then, are you a coordinated entry site? I mean, can you access coordinated entry?
We do access it, and we are members of coordinated entry.
Okay. And then I guess my other question is, like your street outreach, you said you do Rock Island on Monday.
Monday morning,
Monday
yes.
morning. Would you ever have the capacity to do more in the city of Rock Island, or is staffing such that that's all you can do?
So we are being pushed by other individuals to try to increase at least another team for street outreach. Yes, then we would absolutely spend, and we would just split and share that, so that, because we want to be able to help as many people as we can.
Okay.
One of the things that we do so that we're just not wandering around the city is we have the team, they started out by going out and meeting individuals that they needed to meet who would be knowledgeable of where we might find homeless individuals. So we went to hospitals, the police department, churches, and we built that relationship so that what we do now before we go into a city is we'll call these people and say, hey, do you have anywhere you want us to go? Have you heard of anything? And if they have, then that's where we'll focus to begin with. If not, we'll look at a map and see where it is that we've been, so we're just not going to the same place over and over.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for my tardiness. Due to the fact that you're dealing with a lot of the homeless people, I may have missed this when I came in. You know, we're dealing with a lot of them right now that are still also dealing with mental issues. How do you guys cope with that?
So there are probably, I think, reporting 45% of our people will report mental health along with another issue. One of the things that we do right away is, and this is during a sit-down session that we have with them within 72 hours of being there. And the whole idea is to find out, again, what barriers are you having? And a lot of times what we'll find out is because they're homeless, especially if they are truly living on the street and not bouncing around home to home, their belongings have probably been robbed 2 or 3 times. So their meds are gone, and they haven't been on their meds for a long time. So if it's been just a couple of months that they've been without them, then we can connect them up with CHC and get their meds. Maybe their doctor's right across the street at Robert Young, so they may attempt to just go right over there. If not, and it's been longer, we will set up a mental health evaluation through CHC and ask that their therapists be across the street at Robert Young so they just have that walk to go. You're welcome. Any other questions? So we are open 24 hours a day. And when I say that, what I mean is that there is somebody there 24 hours a day to help if we need to answer the telephone, to take crisis logs. But our doors officially close at 7 p.m. for not having the community to come in. And the reason that we're doing that, quite frankly, is our residents have to do chores, and we've got to clean up the kitchen and the dining room, and a lot of them just want to spend a little bit of time watching TV before they go to bed.
Now, sir, what would be the difference between a shelter and an emergency shelter? What makes the emergency all seasons high?
So that's a good question. And there are as many definitions as there are shelters. But basically here is the difference between a homeless shelter and an emergency shelter. An emergency shelter, it just says that we are there, and I actually wrote this down so that I wouldn't mess it up. It's any facility where the primary purpose is to provide a temporary shelter, whether it's in general, meaning they're just homeless, or whether it's an emergency. So a fire, flooding, what's that? That is the definition of an emergency shelter. I look at Christian Care, quite frankly, as a prototype, hybrid, however you want to call it, because we have individuals that stay there, they live there, we don't make them leave. We're a dry shelter versus a wet shelter. We offer services, so we have a little bit of all of it. We do have it, with the women's shelter, we have family, but we don't have men in that part, so it's just women and women with children.
And what is your procedure for tenants, people that cannot afford?
So we're a very structured organization. And basically that means that when an individual comes in and we do this intake, part of the intake process is going through our general guidelines, and each individual is given a copy of that guidelines. And it sets the tone for what we expect. Part of that tone is that you can point out of the system if you just don't want to follow the rules. If you don't want to do your chores and that, we'll start you with 20 and you can work your way out. If it's a major, what we consider a major incident, which would be coming back intoxicated, maybe they left and didn't come back for a night, which would be a no-call, no-show, they can have 3 of those incidences before they leave. When I ask them to leave, one of the very last things that I tell them is that I want you back here in 30 days. We make them stay away for 30 days so that they can realize their error. They still can come to eat. They can still come and shower. They just aren't going to have their own bed. And it is their bed while they're there. They don't rotate beds. That's their bed.
And if they're out for 30 days, can you explain their experience or or would that be the situation where some people say homeless people choose to be homeless?
No, if they're out for 30 days, most, not all, maybe some more severely handicapped mental health may follow that path. Most are going to find a spot with friends or whatever for that short period of time, but they will continue to use us. They'll come, they'll shower, they can eat. We've got bus tickets. That's part of the reason why we have street outreach too. Like, hey, go out and make sure that these guys that are here, and a lot of times they'll connect with them too. So they're never far away from us during that 30 days. They're just not staying with us.
One more question for you, sir. From the 15 counties that you guys serve, in those other counties, do you guys have community partners, or are the resources for those 15 counties just centrally located here, pretty much in the Placer?
So I believe Project Now could speak more of that because that's actually part of the continuum of care. But I do know that many of the surrounding counties that are part of the continuum of care actually have services. Street outreach is probably one of those things that we need to push more so that we can get out in the city and meet those individuals head on. You're welcome. Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, if Humility Homes would like to come up and give their presentation.
Hello. How do I switch the slides, or will somebody? I have two, because I'm going to speak a little bit about QCon at the end, because it's a collaboration approach. But if you could do the humility one first. I'm not sure who's doing it. Okay, perfect. Okay, hi, I'm Ashley Willis. I'm the CEO at Humility Homes and Services. So thank you for asking us to present today. A little bit about us. We've been around since 1990. We were founded by the Sisters of Humility. And then in our journey, we did housing, sheltering, and now we do everything from street outreach to affordable housing. Our mission is very simple. We're committed to ending homelessness by offering housing opportunities and supportive services in the Greater Quad Cities. Greater Quad Cities to us is Scott County and Rock Island County are our primary counties that we serve. But we do serve in Iowa and Illinois in our veterans program, 9 counties. In our permanent supportive housing program in Iowa, we serve 5 counties. But otherwise shelter, people can come from anywhere for us. We specialize just in housing. There are other agencies that do other things, but our bread and butter really has just been the street outreach up to emergency shelter and housing options. We started as 4 units. We now own and operate 152 units throughout the Greater Quad Cities area. Some is affordable rentals, where the rent is below what HUD sets as fair market value. Some are permanent supportive housing units. One is also our shelter. We began as transitional housing for children, women and children, and we've always expanded into what the community needs from us. So our entire mission has just been that. Last year we served around 1,300 individuals in our emergency shelter, street outreach, and housing programs. That does not include our affordable housing. We actually do more housing than sheltering every single year because in order to end homelessness, you need housing. So as an agency, we've invested in both. We helped bring veterans homelessness along with other housing agencies to net zero in 2020. And then about 45% of our individuals leave our housing program and go on to a stable place of home. So I mentioned a few of them already. Street outreach and permanent supportive housing, is what we really focus the most on, as we are the only low barrier shelter in the Quad Cities, which means you can come in under the influence of alcohol and drugs as long as you are able to go to your bed, mind your business, not get violent. You don't need an ID to come in. You don't need to have medications for mental health to come in. We want to take you as you are, wrap services around you, and then be able to house you. So people fall through a lot of cracks before they come to us. We work a lot with the police departments in the Quad Cities for this purpose. So we have a paid partnership with the City of Davenport and the City of Bettendorf for drop-offs, as well as City of Moline for people that are outside. And then Rock Island, we also do take in drop-offs also from the police in Rock Island. They have to bring them to us, but we do accept them. I wanted to kind of start with a higher picture and then break into what we see as could help Rock Island from our point of view. Point in time count is, how many of you have heard of it? Show of hands. Okay, a couple. So point in time count, it's literally meaning how do you count who's experiencing homelessness, and then from there you figure out what services could be needed. Point in time count is what the federal government gets, and then that's how they also decide what HUD funding we will receive for this area. So point in time happens on end of January, usually really cold. So at that time, there was 472 individuals in the Quad Cities area. 154 were in Rock Island County alone. You have seen an increase of 40% over 4 years of people in Rock Island County becoming homeless. The most alarming to us that we track is also newly homeless. So you saw an increase of 25% individuals entering in this system over average that were brand new. When you are addressing those who live unsheltered or live in a shelter and are experiencing homelessness, there isn't just a blanket way to do that. You have to have multiple interventions, multiple ways, and it really is a collaboration approach. So when you're completing PIT, we also collect, per federal guidelines, the last 90 days where they lived, a zip code. That tells us where they're coming from, who do we need to approach, how do we work on what's needed. From there, you've got a PIT count. You also have something called a HIT count, which is a housing inventory count. So people that are experiencing homelessness, you then are able to identify what type of housing intervention services they need by your coordinated entry, which I will get into. But then you also have to have housing places for them to go, such as rapid rehousing, permanent supportive, transitional housing. For humility, we do rapid rehousing and affordable housing in Rock Island. We had a couple of units of supportive housing, but that funding shifted, but we are able to add more in now. We just got the grants for that program. So more for that will come into Rock Island. Illinois then captures this data and they do data tracking points through the statewide homelessness task force. So what you see there is how many beds in the system you need in order to bring homelessness to a functional zero. Functional zero is very simple. It means that if you're needing assistance, we will have a way to help you. You won't have to go on a wait list. You won't have to do all of that. You can come to us, we'll be able to house you. We can do that with veterans, but we can't do that with all populations yet. So those are those numbers. Need-based, you need about 19,607 units throughout the state. For our area, which is what we call the Quad Cities bi-state region, which is Scott County and Rock Island, so we do work together both sides of the river. The COC is like an overarching one that's made up of many, many counties, and then you divide the counties out, and then the counties work on what's needed there. So in our area, it's Scott County and Rock Island. This was done by the Iowa State Needs Assessment of 2024. And so crisis response would be your emergency shelter, moderate is a rapid rehousing, intensive is a PSH model. So in our area every year, that is the number that we need in order for us to get to a functional zero on both sides of the river. Coordinated entry is how you then get onto all of those programs to say, what do you need? So there's 19 COCs in Illinois. They're then divided into smaller regions. Like I mentioned, we're the bi-state region. So coordinated entry is a system-wide process to quickly and equitably get individuals to where they need. They fill out a form when they call coordinated entry that's very invasive, but it lets us know what type of intervention housing they need. Rapid rehousing is for people who've maybe been homeless like one time, have maybe an eviction or two, minor barriers. Permanent supportive housing is for those who have been homeless multiple times or chronically homeless. Those are the individuals that you would see on the streets of downtown Rock Island currently. Majority of those individuals really need a PSH model, and that is where we're really lacking. On any given week, you'll find 300 to 350 households waiting for assistance on the coordinated entry list. So, what are we currently doing in Rock Island? Chris Dunn is our street outreach worker. He is here today too, so if you ask questions, I might call him up as well. We have had a partnership with Moline for about 2 years where we do street outreach with the city of Moline. Tracking data, we work alongside the police. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, we were contacted by the library to say, can we come in and help and do some street outreach? So that's where Chris got involved. He does minimal hours in downtown Rock Island. He currently has 7 enrolled in programming. 2 individuals, their last zip code was the city of Rock Island. There are obviously more who are living unsheltered downtown. They maybe don't want to be enrolled as they just don't trust the system yet. Some people also don't want housing, they're not ready yet. And they're not in there. That doesn't mean that Chris hasn't had probably touch points with them, but he has 7 that are currently enrolled that he's working on housing. 2 are from Rock Island. Services provided are clothing, hygiene items, navigation of substance abuse services, mental health services, obtaining identification, housing search assistance. We do veteran services in all of Rock Island, rapid rehousing, and then we have our affordable housing. We own 11 units in Rock Island for affordable housing. The least expensive is $290 for a studio. The most expensive is $795, and it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. Oh goodness, this is a little bit smaller, so I apologize for that. Recommendations. To start with, I don't know if I've said it enough, but it really is got to be a multi-agency approach. We can say what we can do, but we don't specialize in everything. So it's with us, it's street outreach, and like I said, supportive housing. We've gotten more into affordable housing, but in order to address anything related to homelessness, you really need a multi-agency collaboration approach. So we work collaboratively currently with Downtown Davenport Partnership, very similar to Rock Island's Downtown Davenport. We've had about a 5-year working relationship where we do receive some funding from them, where we're tracking numbers, moving people along, getting them housed, doing outreach on the streets 30 to 35 hours a week. Moline, we're doing the same thing. It's 30 hours a week with Moline. We work with the police where we get daily reports of who they've talked to, who they've had a connection with. They then Chris will go out, our new worker, Steve Bunn, will go out and build that relationship to hopefully get them enrolled and get them housed. We do take people in from the Rock Island Police, but if there was any type of payment or anything, we would be able to hold beds like we do for the other police departments where it's a drop-off, no questions asked. Generally, the police do take people to us that may be going to jail if they didn't have a place to stay. So if they've been under the influence, if they're trespassing versus taking them to jail, we would rather you bring them to us so then they don't get another barrier against them as we try to house them. We're working currently with also the Quad Cities Open Network. Their slides are next, so I'll go a little bit about that. They're working to fund library social workers throughout all of the Quad Cities. Davenport had one for 2 years. The funding has ended, but they're working to bring that back up. She's worked with the City of Moline, City of East Moline, where a library social worker will be placed there. We're recommending one for Rock Island too. The intention of that is your libraries really are a neutral ground. The library is seeing a lot of individuals who may be experiencing homelessness, or they might just need some help and they don't know where to go. So if you have a social worker at the library, they're trained, they can hopefully get people on coordinated entry, they can, kind of work upstream, especially if they're already housed. So the Quad City Housing Council has a regional plan that they've put together in order to address 6 pillars. So programming needs like permanent supportive housing, additional units made, funding, what's the other one? System changes. They have a plan currently that's launching. They had invited all the cities, all the funder, everybody to come together to talk about what do we start first. So she has the plan, but it's in a draft form, so I couldn't share it yet. But it's actually how do you use houses that are sitting empty currently and to make them into housing versus building brand new. How do we get more units on board? How do you get more services? What does that look like? So we work alongside the Quad City Housing Council as well as QCon as we need to be able to get the correct data, the number of people that you're talking about, that you're seeing, what their services needs are, and then work upstream from there. Expand access for coordinated entry through multiple access points in Davenport. The access points currently are the school system, the CHC, us, Salvation Army, Bettendorf schools, in order to get people onto coordinated entry. Street outreach can do it too, because really getting on coordinated entry and getting there is really the first step to get any of the housing that I mentioned earlier. If you are not on there, then you will not get chosen for housing. Allow a day center such as the Third Place to open for those living unsheltered. Currently, there is no place really in downtown Rock Island for them to go to feel safe. In Davenport, you see why their downtown has been able to be more revitalized is there is St. Anthony's Center, or St. Anthony's Church. There was a library social worker. There's the library there. We're down there. Vera French has a street outreach worker. So having a place that can also be, because right now, when they're meeting, you could go to the library or you're meeting outside. But if there is a day center and a place to be at, that would also help those individuals not only be cared for, but then also get connected to services. It does need to be more 7 days a week in order for there to be a place for them to go. And then also our recommendation is to do a bi-state regional commission, bring everybody together, all the different cities, because you all are not alone. This is a problem that's happening across all of the Quad Cities. Similar conversations have been happening in all areas, but who is taking what? How are you going to, as a region, address it together? There's a number on the slide. It's 12 to 16 million. Every year needs to be from funders, cities everywhere, and then you can bring this to a functional zero. There's a plan, there's a road work, but we've got to start somewhere for it. Another one you could do is an encampment to home challenge strategy. They've done that across the country. They've done it in Rockford. For example, Rockford, very similar in size to the Quad Cities. They have ended homelessness for 3 different populations by following this functional zero model. That's what the Quad City Housing Council has brought in for us to be able to do that. We have the numbers, we definitely have the people that need it, and then work from there. Just a couple of quotes. And how to contact us. Yeah. Oh, you're here. Come on up. Now this is Cecilia with Coupon. I need to get to her slides. I don't know who's controlling them. I wasn't sure. I talked a little bit that I was going to go through.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Cecilia Bailey. I'm the Executive Director of the Quad Cities Open Network. And the Quad Cities Open Network is a collaborative entity that works together with, I think we're 84 partner agencies now in Health and Human Services to bring initiatives to the Quad Cities. We are most known for our collaborative information and referral system that we've been working on for about 6 years now to bring a system to the Quad Cities that allows warm handoffs for people to make referrals and then for people to receive those referrals and know what is happening with those referrals. So that is how we started. Since then, we have worked collectively across different areas, looking at gaps in services, particularly from our Supplemental Emergency Assistance Program. So that is a flexible fund that exists here in the Quad Cities for about, 36 years. QCon has had a hold of it for about 3. So looking at gaps in services in the Quad Cities and seeing what we can do to address those services. Of course, housing and behavioral health showed up as the top 2. And so we've been working collaboratively in partnership to bring initiatives in those 2 genres to the community. For the behavioral health side, we are sunsetting our Zero Suicide Initiative. So if you've heard of the Zero Suicide Initiative, that was done under the umbrella of the Quad Cities Behavioral Health Coalition through the fiscal sponsorship of QCon. And so that was to bring 1,000 persons trained in suicide prevention, 100 agencies on board to look at policies, procedures, protocols, and marketing. So again, collaboration is where we sit. We do sit in the macro-meso realm, so we are B2B. We do not work directly with individuals. Instead, we work for our partner agencies, many who I'm sure you have heard from before, to address their needs and to uplift their voice. So the problem, what we know happens, right, is that our partner agencies are interfacing with people during fight, freeze, or fawn mode. So we know that in that mode, it is nearly impossible to have one transaction and make a huge difference. It does happen, but it's rare, specifically in the case of homelessness. So that's why our great partners who work on this every single day, they need to have the opportunity to interface with these folks on more than one occasion. They need time to build relationships. They need funding to build relationships, and they need a trusted system that's always in place so that they know exactly where to go and how they can get services. So our opportunity, again, I talked about Quad Cities Open Network and how we kind of decided that housing was what needed to be on our radar. And so how we determined that is we are part of the Housing Council, the Housing Cluster, and we also, again, hold the Supplemental Emergency Assistance Program. And so what the Supplemental Emergency Assistance Program is, outside of a flex fund, it is actually a way to collect data, right? If someone is accessing, if a partner agency is accessing SEEP services, that means that those services have not been able to be realized in our community, either by funding or based on wait times or something like that. So through the Supplemental Emergency Assistance Program, we saw the big areas hit were utility and housing. And so we thought, that's not what our fund is supposed to be there for. Our fund is meant to be there for someone who is facing some one-time emergency, a car repair, or alike, so that they can quickly access services and get back to their life. We can use it, and obviously do use it for utility and housing, but that's really not the purpose of SEEP. And so we wanted to investigate further what was happening and how we could work collaboratively to help that issue. So in 2023, we held several focus groups, and we found, to nobody's surprise, I'm sure, a severe lack of funding for our agencies and program funds. We found shallow referrals, simply providing a number that may not be appropriate, resulting in time wasted by all parties. Again, our health and human service partners are drowning. They are trying to help people, but they lack the workforce and the funding to do so. And sometimes a complete lack of referral process just in general. And then obviously funding changes all the time. So a lack of awareness of access or access to each other's eligibility and programs and services, because again, those things change all the time. We also saw lots of Band-Aid solutions. So if we are just simply giving someone 1 month's rent without doing an investigative process and to see if that is going to fix the problem, then we are not likely to solve the problem. Again, in many cases we can do that, but in many cases we cannot. So if we're not working collaboratively on doing more than simple Band-Aid approaches, then what we are doing is not going to work. So what will help? I put on the left-hand side of the screen is our map of the housing collaboration. I heard Frank say it, I heard Ashley say it, I've heard many partners in the room say it. Collaboration is key. So again, QCon exists as a neutral body to only serve our partner agencies. So we will not endorse or support specifically one program or another, but we will certainly advocate for each of our partners' role to do the work that they are slotted to do in this community. And so that includes safety net funding, that's shelter services, those are mainstream services, that's case management, that's coordinated entry. Ashley said, you don't get to services if you're homeless without entering coordinated entry. And then of course, advocacy. So there are many different agencies who are working on different pieces of this pie. And it's important that we are all working together to affect change. So, greater funds. I'm sure that's something you hear all the time, right? So greater funds available for the sector for housing. We cannot be expected to fix an issue, a $16 million issue with $2 million. It simply isn't going to work. Clear referral protocols for homeless diversion program. I see Kelly Larned in the room today from Salvation Army. Quad Cities Open Network on the Iowa side of the river has a eviction diversion program with Salvation Army and Iowa Legal Aid that looks very similar to what Prairie State and Project Now have on this side of the river for eviction diversion. And so again, that is a collaborative way that we are working towards at that last stance before someone is evicted, trying to get to them at that last, before it's too late. So clear referral protocols and more partnership. And then obviously we will always advocate for a pool of flexible dollars that sit within the community that are available to our partner agencies. So when their services can't help, or when there are no services in the Quad Cities that can help, we can still elicit trust and we can still help with the issue by making sure that a large flexible pool of dollars exists in the community. So currently, what we see again is this, this multiple different ways to approach services. We see multiple different agencies who are often dictated by their funding criteria or their governing bodies on how and what they can do. And so sometimes a collaboration is one policy away from change. Other times it's funding, sometimes it's workforce shortage. There's lots of things that are indicative of this kind of straight network where people are doing their own thing, but we do know that collaboration is best. So what we see is an opportunity to create, as Ashley said, a neutral and easily accessible access points to community resources. We know that our partners do great work. We also know that they're inundated with calls and walk-ins and all of those things. So by building a network of library social workers that is one neutral spot, so everyone in the community knows where do you go for services when you don't know where to start, it's your local library. That seems to make good sense to us in this moment. We also see those being built through school districts and other participating service providers. Again, we have many service providers who do have access to place people on the coordinated entry list specifically, and also have access to our flexible pool of dollars as well as to other agencies through that information and referral system. So again, by building this structure, by broadening our scope, and by looking at this again regionally, we can really make a difference. So I end with this wonderful quote. If the actions we are not taking are getting us to our goal of limiting homelessness, then we need to adjust our actions. These are simply suggested starting points to make change towards more effective processes. It's likely that shifting and adjusting will need to improve. Again, we are experts in what we do, but experts come with a lot of fail. That's how you become an expert. So when we are offering points of suggestion, they are points of suggestion based on what we know now. And the more opportunity we have to learn together and to work through challenges and issues, the better off we will be. Thank you.
I don't know if there's questions or not.
Question.
Question for Cecilia?
Both of you, please.
Okay.
More funding. That's a pretty obvious answer. How are other communities funding this effort? The city of Rock Island has an already strained general fund. We don't have money for this work. Are you familiar with other communities having other forms of revenue, for example, a local real estate transfer fee to fund homelessness fighting efforts? How are other communities funding this?
So what we have seen, yes, are different cities using their different creative ways of taxing to help support this work from a city's perspective. It is also very necessary for, again, it to be collaborative. So we are looking at not just cities helping to fund, but we're looking at foundations, we're looking at workforce counties. There's state funding. There's not one good way to do it, and the communities that are most successful have a large portfolio of resources that they're using. I say we don't like to Band-Aid solutions, but we're Band-Aiding in. So if your, for instance, if City of Rock Island dollars can be used to help fund a library social worker, maybe for the collaborative project, but can't be used for a flex fund, then we might use a Doris and Victor Day Foundation for the flex fund, and so on and so forth. So what we find is best is for folks to contribute to what they can, how they can, and then we go find the rest.
So outside of the Quad Cities, so in Iowa, Illinois is a state housing trust fund, so does Iowa, but they're a little bit different per sides of the river. But one thing that Iowa does is their riverboats donate a lot, because Iowa has a real estate transfer tax that a certain percentage has to go, well, it's real estate transfer tax as well as a riverboat tax, that a certain percentage has to go to nonprofits and giving back to your community. I don't believe Illinois has anything like that, but there is also So that's one option. Funders have also said to us that, it could be a combined effort of maybe they put this much in and then a city or a county could put this much in. There's other things you can look at with like zoning ordinances, or if you have people coming in to build any type of new businesses, new housing, a certain amount of housing, if they come in to build it, has to be affordable housing, so you put it back on the developer. Same thing with businesses. Businesses will do the same option. Iowa City has one, I can't remember exactly what theirs is called, but if you're going to develop in there, you have to give money towards a housing aspect, because if you're trying to bring workforce in, you'd have to have housing for your workforce. We don't. In all of the Quad Cities, you've got about 14,000 licensed units, and that is all of the Quad Cities. That's not a lot of housing for renters. So that's a way that other places have done. They've put it also on businesses too.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. On the Illinois side, for us to have more coordinated entry locations, what is the procedure or the qualification to achieve that?
They have to be members of a coordinated entry or of the COC, so they'd have to join on the Illinois side in order to be a member of it. They have to then sign an MOU with the coordinated entry system to be a part of it, but it's not very difficult to do so. And then the lead agency would give access to be access points for it. So like I mentioned, different ones, you give access points, and then they would manage it on the back end, making sure that everything's entered correctly, they get on the list, that sort of thing.
Okay. And also, ma'am, when you said that there was no place downtown for the homeless to feel safe, currently, do we have any supporting agencies that can make them feel safe, including the possibility of Third Place?
Yes. So Project Now they have services, they're down there, but you don't really have like a day place for them to go to. There is a meal site with Christian Care, so you have the meal site one, but what you're missing is additional services that anybody can walk into, that you can come in and have a meal, but you can also come in and stay for a while, come in and be present, where you're not having to show ID. You can be under the influence. You can do that as long as you're being safe. And like I said, in St. Anthony's is a perfect example. They offer a meal site, a clothing site. They have computers. They have job training that comes in. I think they have a mental health person, but they have all the services, and we're able to then also come in to connect people. So it's a multifaceted approach. Right now, your library is the one that's really getting inundated, and in talking with them, they're not trained social workers on how to deal with this. They're librarians. And it's a very different population, especially if you've lived unsheltered for so long. It's not okay, so.
Okay. And one more question, ma'am. So in a perfect world, minus the homeless being homeless, in a perfect world, and also minus us getting an extra 5,000 units of housing, minus those things, what would we all have to do to get everything at a respectable level? Would that be more shelters? Would that be more outreach providers? What does that look like the number one priority?
Yeah, all of the above. To me, from our lens, it'd be more street outreach, as your number has grown so much for people that are living unsheltered, and actually doing just the street outreach. Right now, street outreach, they're not here enough hours, nor are they able to spend probably enough time with someone, because it's building a relationship, getting them to trust you, having that peace, and just spending time with them so they know that you will help them. You're not trying to harm them, move them along, that sort of thing. So definitely that, and then having shelter that is a low barrier model, so everybody would have some place to go, at night. And even we're running at capacity at this time of year, which is not normal for us, but we're an 88-bed shelter, and we're at capacity almost every night. Generally, we're at about 55, but we're at capacity, so that's not good either. And then having housing options, but having housing options that are affordable, and having some services in place. And so one of the slides, it did have like the number of units, the different one, cost, that piece. So.
And I don't really have a question, but, I do agree with you. Our street outreach in Rock Island is pretty non-existent. And so, that's definitely something that we need to address. I guess I think what you did was great. I really appreciate you coming here. I would encourage my colleagues to really check out some of the resources out there. Community Solutions, the Built for Zero plan has been super successful in Rockford and in other cities. I think it's important for us in the Quad Cities, while a regional approach is great and very, very much needed for us here, we have a number that realistically is pretty manageable to get to functional zero, but it has to be done on a local, by state Quad City. With the bridges, it has to be by state. It has to focus here local. That affects us. Other counties, everybody's got issues, but it really, for us, it needs to affect us here, especially in Rock Island. I think that one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is that we have so many agencies that do certain pieces very, very well. It is too big of a problem for any one agency to handle on its own. The Quad City Housing Council did a great job with Silos to Solutions, which we have talked about before, but I would encourage us to look at putting together something where we have a single team that has a single common focus and goal. So everybody is working together for the same thing, because every agency holds a piece of the puzzle. The big question is, who holds the puzzle board to coordinate all those pieces coming together? And so I would encourage my colleagues to do a little bit of research on your own. Look up some of the references. We do have a situation where we can reach functional zero, but it's going to take a group effort together. And when you talk about funding and funders, there are funders out there who will fund a collaborative effort, because if it's going to work, if there's a plan, there are funders out there that will help make it work. But it's only going to work if it is literally a single team working with a single goal, instead of all different agencies trying to do their part without anyone kind of coordinating the whole thing. So I thank you both for talking today, and also for Frank. Is Frank still here? I also want to thank you for talking, because I learned more about Christian Care than I really had known before, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead with public comment. Okay, first name, Ron Lund.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just want to clarify some of the points that were made during the presentations and kind of respond not only on behalf of Project Now as well as the COC to some of the questions that you as the elected body had. The Northwestern Illinois Continuum of Care does do a multiple point of entry. So some of the points just in our local area, Bethany for Children and Families, Christian Care, the YWCA, the Third Place, Salvation Army, as well as the Regional Office of Education. They are the McKinney-Vento point of contact. They are the ones that deal with homeless children when it comes to the school district. I'm a little confused here in the grand scheme of things. Now, I pulled some old information. The city of Rock Island funded the SSA in, I believe, 2023 at the cost of over $500,000, with the goal of being to bring economic development to downtown, as well as beautifying and working with the homeless. This was funded initially $315,000 by the businesses in the SSA, $150,000 from the city, and $70,000 of private funding. So all but $70,000 is taxpayer money. why are we considering adding another $50,000 of taxpayer money for a program that is already being provided by 4 different entities in this city? Your issue is not street outreach. Your issue is housing. Take the money and renovate some of the housing stock. You can have all the street outreach programs in the world. If you have no place to put homeless individuals, what are you going to do with them? If you pass the moratorium, no new shelters can open. What are you going to do with the homeless individuals? In addition, the continuum brings $2.75 million into this county, specifically for this. Of that 2.75, 0 is funded by the city of Rock Island. You do not need to throw more money at this problem. Money is not the answer. Housing is the answer. We did provide you some handouts. The street outreach program that was proposed today is identical to the one that was ran in the city of Moline. Have any of you reached out to your counterparts on the effectiveness of that program before considering this? I highly encourage that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Annika O'Melia?
Hi, my name's Annika, and I live in Rock Island, and my kids went back to school and gave me a cold, so I'm just here to support the third place. I really think that it helps fill some gaps in the community, and I also applaud the City Council for recognizing, taking this pause and recognizing the importance of a regional approach, but I think having the third place in place as quickly as possible will only help you toward that goal. And actually, the Washington Post just had a big article about Dallas, Texas, and how they used their continuum of care, I forget the terminology, funding, and exactly what Ron just said. It was really about housing, and that's how they really took the population of Dallas in their downtown area and basically eliminated homelessness. So I think there are models, and yeah, so I'm just here to support the third place because I think they'll do awesome work, and the business owners I've talked to downtown, it seems like they'll only help to solve some of the problems that they're having. I'm also here tonight to talk about another really important issue. I don't know if this is allowable, but I watch all your meetings online, and your microphone rolls all over the table and makes a lot of noise. So these are little microphone stands. So for anyone who listens online, you just set the microphone in them. Because actually, when you put the microphone, it rolls down the table, and then you guys. So that's just to help you tonight as you're doing these presentations.
Thoughtful.
So that we don't hear all the rolling. And I also just appreciate our council. I think there's a lot of heart up here, and you guys listen and you take things seriously, and it's not an easy job. So thank you, and yay for the third place.
Thank you. Brian Ritter.
Hello, my name is Brian Ritter. I work in the conservation field. I'm here to talk about Milan Bottoms yet again. I'm here to express my concerns about the proposed development that will go immediately adjacent to the wetlands in the Milan Bottoms. During the past spring and summer, Kelly McKay, a local biologist for 46 years, documented the presence of 11 different threatened and endangered species in the wetlands immediately adjacent to the proposed development site. This includes the Blandings turtle, a species that has been previously documented by Dr. Alan Markovich, noted herpetologist from our area. A Chicago Tribune photographer was even able to snap a few distant photos of the Blandings turtle while here on August 1st, 2025. My point of saying this is that there's a lot we don't know about the Milan Bottoms, and it warrants more studies before we allow a truck stop to occur there. Wetlands are critical for the survival of these and countless other species. Wetlands provide ecological services that benefit us all, and they provide these services for free, including naturally filtering our water, providing a natural buffer against flooding, which is becoming all too common now in our neck of the woods, and it provides habitat for fish, ducks, and other species that are traditionally harvested for food. Having a truck stop gas station adjacent to these wetlands, the largest complex of wetlands left in our area, poses a direct threat to the health of the Milan Bottoms, the Mississippi River, and nearby wetlands like Nahant Marsh. I have personally witnessed the damage that oil-based leaks can cause. During the Great Flood of 2019, a fuel separator at the nearby train yard was overwhelmed and hundreds of gallons of diesel fuel spilled into properties owned by Nahant Marsh. It took months and thousands of dollars to remove the contamination. And this was a fairly minor spill. How will you ensure that no such event occurs at this spot and the fuels stay out of the wetlands? Contrary to comments made by city staff in the Chicago Tribune article a few weeks ago, the Milan Bottoms has always been a wetland, likely since the Wisconsin Glacier retreated from our area some 12,000 years ago. The GLO surveys that occurred in the early 1800s shows the area as a complex of water, bottomland forests, swamps, and sloughs, all of which are wetlands. From the late 19th century to mid 20th century, people intermittently tried to drain and farm these areas and even mine sand from it, but with limited success, especially after the lock and dam system was built. The area has always managed to return itself to wetlands. I urge you to protect this valuable resource and reconsider this development. It's not too late to change your mind, and the long-term protection of the Milan Bottoms, the Mississippi River, and your community should outweigh the promise of a little bit of money from a gas station. Thank you.
Thank you. Molly Theus.
Hi, my name is Molly Teese. I spoke at the last meeting. I work at RICA, the Rock Island County Council on Addictions. I am more importantly, I live in the city of Rock Island. The people that you heard present to you tonight, we actually work with them. I come here as a citizen, not actually as a representative of my agency, but I come here with a unique position as I know these statistics, I know these data. I work with these people. When Frank was talking about Martha's House and Christian Care, do you know an agency is only as good as the beds as they can provide? Believe it or not, 42 beds and 26 beds is not a lot. What I implore you guys to do is look at the data that you were given tonight and make an educated guess and not, or I'm sorry, an educated decision and not a knee-jerk reaction. When you look at all the type of services that you are trying to put a moratorium on, boy, you just covered the whole gamut because it sounds like you don't want poor people here. Please look at your data as a critical thinker and find a way to do better as a city. We all need to do better as citizens and as a city. A place like the Third Place is a stopping point. We talk about community outreach. They're there. There they are. Make sure that this isn't a knee-jerk reaction to new agencies trying to come in and help other people. Please look at the data. I know I keep beating a dead horse when I say that, but when I look at other agencies, other services, even the school district, we don't always use our data right. We don't. So when you're making this decision about the moratorium, look at the data. How do we help not harm our citizens? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That will be all for the study session. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.